My beloved child, I know the weight you have carried in your heart ever since they walked away, leaving you with questions that haunted your nights and doubts that lingered in your days. And I have seen every silent moment where you replayed their departure over and over, wondering if it was something you said, something you failed to do, or a sign that you were never enough. But hear me now, this season of silence was never meant to define your worth. It was meant to refine your understanding of who you are apart from the explanations you thought you needed, and though their exit was sudden, though it left you with wounds that words could not soothe, I want you to know that the story did not end there. The unanswered questions were not the final chapter but a pause in the narrative I have been writing for you, for there are moments in life where I allow certain departures not to punish you, but to protect you from the chaos that would have unfolded had you held on when I was calling them to step away. And though you saw it as abandonment, I saw it as preservation. For sometimes the absence of a person is the loudest way I can clear the space for your growth, your clarity, and your healing. You have carried this ache with such strength, trying to convince yourself that you moved on, yet deep within, a small whisper still wonders why, still aches for closure, still longs for that one moment where truth would meet your pain and offer peace. And I tell you now, that moment is coming, not because you begged for it, but because the time has ripened and the truth that was hidden must surface, not to break you, but to release you. The person who left without answers carries their own weight of silence, their own burden of untold words, their own journey of reflection that you could not see from where you stood, and the season they spent away was not free from my hand. It was in that space that I began stirring, convicting, and aligning what was broken within them, so that if ever they returned, they would not come back with empty hands or shallow apologies, but with clarity, humility, and truth. Do not think for a moment that your tears were unnoticed, that your prayers dissolved unheard, or that I was indifferent to your confusion, for every night you whispered my name, asking why. I was collecting each sigh, each tear, each trembling breath, and weaving it into the answer you will soon hear. There are words that must be spoken now, truths that must come forth not because you demand them, but because your spirit is ready to hear them without shattering, because the growth you have undergone in this wilderness has fortified you in ways you do not yet see. You are no longer the person who was left behind, you are the one who survived, evolved, and began to rise despite the silence, and that is why this explanation, this reckoning, is approaching not to undo you but to honor the transformation that occurred in their absence. Child, I am telling you this not so you cling to their return, but so you release the fear of never knowing, because what is coming is not a half-truth wrapped in comfort. It is the kind of revelation that sets captives free, and you, my beloved, have been captive to unanswered questions for too long. The one who left is beginning to feel the pull of my timing, the weight of what was unsaid, and the urge to reconcile with the part of their journey they tried to outrun. Your chapter was not closed, it was left open, and I am about to bring a wind of truth to turn the page. But as you hear this, I want you to guard your heart, for this is not about reopening old wounds or reigniting what I have asked you to release. This is about seeing how I work even in silence, how I redeem even the exits that wounded you, and how I bring answers not always to restore what was lost, but to set you free from the hold of confusion and the prison of wondering. You will stand before their words with a strength you did not have before, and you will know that my hand orchestrated even this, because your story was never abandoned, it was being written in the hidden places. And now the pen is moving once again, and what comes next will not be for your destruction, but for your release, your clarity, and your peace. My child, as this season unfolds, you must understand that what is approaching is not random, nor is it merely the consequence of human guilt or regret. It is a movement that I, the Lord your God, have set into motion because I saw the silent covenant between your heart and their absence, and I will not allow you to live forever in a limbo of what ifs and why did it happen this way? For there are chains that form around the soul when answers are withheld too long, and you have carried those chains with patience that even you underestimated. But I have always known the weight they carried in your private thoughts, in the moments you smiled while still aching, in the days you functioned outwardly yet inwardly felt incomplete because the story was missing its missing page. I am telling you now, this missing page is being written not to flatter your ego nor to revive false hopes, but because your soul deserves the truth, your heart deserves the clarity, and your journey deserves the release that comes only when silence is broken. The person who left, whether through fear, immaturity, pride, or a wound they never revealed, was never beyond my sight. Their footsteps away from you were still within my plan, for sometimes I must allow certain people to leave suddenly so that the process of purification can begin in the places you could not reach while they were near. And now that they have walked through their own shadows, now that they have faced the consequences of their silence, I am stirring their spirit to remember what they left unfinished. You have wondered often if they ever thought of you, if their nights were ever restless, if your name ever rose in their prayers like their name rose in yours, and I say yes, but not in the way you imagined. It was a whisper at first, a tug at the edge of their conscience, a flash of a moment they tried to suppress, but my spirit has been relentless in the quiet hours, reminding them of the fracture they caused. Reminding them of the door they closed without explanation, reminding them that peace will not fully dwell in their heart until they speak what they buried. Do not mistake this as a promise of restoration, for sometimes the explanation comes only to confirm that your path forward is apart, not together. But this time the explanation is coming to heal, not to reopen wounds, to confirm your strength, not to pull you back into weakness, to reveal that what you blamed yourself for was never your failure but my redirection. For I was protecting you even when you thought I was punishing you. You will soon hear things that will shift the weight of responsibility off your shoulders, for they will speak of fears they hid, of struggles they could not voice, of pressures that made them run when they should have stayed, and though it may sting to know what was withheld, it will free you from the cycle of blame that you kept spinning in, thinking you were the reason for the silence. I want you to enter this season with discernment, for the enemy would love to use this moment to reignite old attachments, to whisper, "Maybe this is your chance to go back." But I say to you, the purpose of this explanation is not always reconciliation, it is revelation, and revelation is what births liberation. You have prayed for peace, and I am bringing it not as a soft pat on your pain, but as a mighty unlocking of the door that kept you circling the same memory, the same moment, the same unanswered goodbye. When they come, and they will, whether through words, a message, a letter, or a meeting orchestrated by my hand, do not rush to speak. Listen, for their words are not just theirs, they are part of the answer you have cried out for. They may carry tears, they may carry apologies, they may carry a story you never knew, but above all they will carry the key I am sending to release you from the narrative that left you chained. And when you hear them, remember how far you have come without their explanations, how you rebuilt while questions hung in the air, how you learned to pray deeper, to forgive silently, to grow inwardly, and to trust me even when it made no sense. That is the strength I want you to walk in now, because this moment is not a test of whether you can get them back, it is a test of whether you can receive truth without losing the ground you gained in the waiting. I am with you in this. I will be in the room when the words are spoken, I will steady your heart when emotions rise, and I will give you the wisdom to know whether this is a door being opened or a door being finally sealed with peace. My child, as the ripples of this long-awaited moment draw nearer, I need you to understand the depth of what I am orchestrating, because what is about to unfold is not just a casual reunion nor a mere conversation to satisfy human curiosity, but a divine moment of unveiling where hidden truths, long-suppressed emotions, and decisions that seemed cruel at the time will finally stand exposed under the light of my timing. For years, yes, years, even if only months have passed by your calendar, there has been a silent story running parallel to your own, one you could not read because its chapters were written behind closed doors, in hearts that were too afraid to speak, in circumstances that required silence so that you would not anchor your destiny to something fragile and prematurely built. You thought they left because you were not enough, or because you misstepped, or because somehow your love or loyalty or faithfulness fell short, but I saw what you could not see. I saw the weight they carried. I saw the choices pressing on them like storm clouds. I saw the influences whispering into their ear that had nothing to do with your worth but everything to do with their wounds and their path. And though you pleaded with me in your quiet moments, asking why I let them leave without answers, I want you to know now. It was because the answers at that time would have broken you more than the silence did, for there are truths that must be spoken only when the heart has grown strong enough to hold them without shattering. Now that strength is in you. Now that maturity has been formed by the seasons of waiting, Now that your roots have gone deeper into my presence, I can bring back the words withheld, not to damage but to deliver. This person has wrestled in the night, they have stood in places of regret, they have faced the mirror of their own actions, and while you were learning how to heal, they were learning how to face what they ran from. This is why I have stirred their spirit again, why their thoughts have turned back to the chapter they left unfinished, why they find no peace in pretending it never happened, because I, the Lord, am a God of completion, and what was left jagged I will make straight, what was left open I will close or reopen with purpose. But never will I allow my children to remain bound by the ghost of someone else's silence forever. Do not be surprised when they speak words you never expected to hear, when they admit things you thought they would take to their grave, when they tremble as they confess that the leaving was not about rejection of you but the reflection of their own unhealed parts. This is the moment I am preparing you for, a moment where your peace will no longer be built on questions but on clarity. Yet I warn you, do not idolize the messenger. This explanation, though coming through their mouth, is a work of my mercy, and I do not want you to place them back on a pedestal they once fell from. Listen with the heart of one who has already survived the wound, not with the heart of one who is desperate to rewrite the past. You will feel old emotions rise, yes, but let them pass through you like rain upon fertile ground, because they are not coming to take from you again. They are coming to return what was left in the dark, your dignity, your closure, your freedom. There will be a temptation to rehearse what you will say, to imagine the apology, to script the encounter, but I ask you to stay surrendered, for my spirit will give you the words in the moment, and often, the wisest thing you can do is simply be still and let the truth find its way to your ears before your voice responds. You may find that what you thought you needed, an apology, a plea, a reason, is not even the most healing part. The most healing part will be seeing that I never abandoned your story, I never let their departure mean your destruction, I never allowed their silence to define your value. Instead, I have been writing behind the curtain, forming you, shaping you, expanding your vision so that when this person reappears, you no longer look at them as the one who broke you but as the one whose absence built you. My child, this is why I say, do not seek revenge, do not seek to win the conversation, do not seek to make them pay in guilt, seek only to remain anchored in me, because what comes next after this explanation will depend entirely on how you hold the moment. If you hold it with bitterness, the door may close painfully. If you hold it with wisdom, the door will close peacefully or open righteously. But in either case, your heart will be free, and that has always been my goal for you. I am not sending them to fix what they broke. I am sending them to finish what they left undone, and through that finishing, I will usher you into the next season without the shadow of yesterday clouding your dawn. Beloved child, now that the stage is set and the moment draws near, I want you to know that the arrival of their explanation is more than just a human encounter. It is a spiritual appointment that will ripple across your soul and your season, revealing that every moment of waiting, every tear shed in silence, every unanswered question that haunted your nights was a part of my preparation, orchestrated to strengthen your heart, enlarge your understanding, and awaken a perspective that could only emerge through endurance, for I do not bring explanations to the weak or unready. They are a treasure reserved for the one who has endured the confusion, who has grown through the void, who has leaned into my spirit when human answers were absent. You may feel anticipation, curiosity, even apprehension, and this is natural, for the weight of unspoken truths has formed a gravity around your soul, pulling your thoughts toward them and toward what they might say. But I am telling you, do not allow this moment to become a test of their courage or your longing, for it is not their apology, their story, or their reasoning that will bring peace, but my hand moving through their words, my timing aligning with your readiness, and my spirit preparing you to receive the truth with strength, discernment, and clarity. There may be confessions, there may be admissions, there may even be tears you did not expect, and all of these are not designed to seduce your heart backward or to rewrite the path I have already laid, but to complete the chapter that was left open, to release you from the chains of assumption, and to demonstrate that my plan never relied on their consistency, but on my sovereignty. Understand this: the explanations you receive are not merely about the past, they are a portal to the next level of your life, a passage that will free you from the lingering shadows that prevented full faith, full joy, and full movement forward, for clarity brings freedom, freedom brings confidence, and confidence allows you to step into the destiny I have written for you without hesitation, without doubt, and without fear that the absence of answers was ever permanent. You may notice the subtle workings of my spirit in the timing, the exact words, the pauses, and even in the emotions that rise within you, for I am present in every detail, shaping the encounter to achieve the ultimate goal, your release and your elevation. Do not mistake this moment as a return to old attachments, for while the person may explain, clarify, or even apologize, it is not an invitation to regress. It is an invitation to see how I turn every departure, every silence, and every wound into a vessel of wisdom and a foundation of strength. For you are now in the place where their truth cannot harm you. It can only confirm what you have already endured, what you have already overcome, and what you are about to embrace in full measure. There is a spiritual alchemy at work here. The pain that once felt like abandonment will transform into insight, the frustration that once clouded your days will turn into understanding, and the uncertainty that once imprisoned your heart will dissolve into peace, because my timing is perfect and my purposes are unshakable. I am asking you to be vigilant, to listen without defensiveness, to receive without clinging, to allow their words to land without judgment, and to let my spirit interpret them in the context of the life I am calling you to, because this encounter is not about restoring them to you, but about restoring clarity, restoring power, and restoring the confidence you may have lost in waiting. There will be revelations you never expected, confessions that will humble you, and insights that will illuminate not only their path but your own. And when the moment concludes, you will stand taller, freer, and wiser, understanding that the gaps left by silence were not empty. They were spaces for my spirit to move, for your character to grow, and for your destiny to remain intact even when human comprehension failed. So receive this explanation with a heart prepared by my hand, rejoice not in the accountability of another but in the completion of my design, and let the release that comes from understanding propel you into the next season of your life with courage, joy, and certainty, knowing that nothing, not even the unanswered questions of yesterday, can hold back what I have ordained for you. And as you walk forward after hearing their words, remember that this moment was never just about them. It was about proving that your faith, your endurance, and your trust in me can withstand absence, silence, and uncertainty, and that in the fullness of my timing, every unanswered question will meet its answer, every empty space will be filled with peace, and every part of your story that felt broken will shine with the glory of my redemption, because I am the God who sees, who orchestrates, and who ensures that what was once incomplete is now whole, and what was once silent will now testify of my faithfulness, my love, and my perfect plan, which has never faltered and will never fail you.